create with Python. I'm sure that this might be just a tour on all those libraries. I'm not going to really dig deep into any of those. I'm going to try to talk about Basemap, which is the very first one, and everybody that's tried to create a map with Python know about it. Cartopy is kind of the new standard. Mplleaflet, actually the last three, Mplleaflet, Folium, and Bokeh, are more for interactive maps, which is for that are interested in putting their maps online on the web. They're going to be more interested in those three than on Basemap and Cartopy. I had to create a presentation that's going to be also a guide for you guys later. In this case, I have all the links for the galleries and documentation, and I had to create it as a comparison. I have pros and cons for each library, and I'm going to show a little bit of the library. The pros about Basemap, it was the first one, so it's widely used. People know about it, and it's relatively stable. Another pro, but might not be that pro, that was based on MATLAB's Mmap. So people coming from MATLAB will feel at home. People, actually Pythonists, don't really like that. I think it's an important point to mention. It was shipped as an MPL toolkit, which is part of Mplleaflet, which is the standard library for plotting in Python. But right now, the MPL toolkit idea, it never really became a thing. So it's still an MPL toolkit, but it's almost like a separate module that you have to install. The major strength, in my opinion, is the number of projections in Basemap. It does 25 different map projections. If there is any other Python library that can do all those. Another big advantage is that once you install Basemap, it will be to work because all the further code that Basemap depends on and all the data comes both into the package. So it depends on GUs, Proj4, PyProj, and all this comes bundled in Basemap. So you don't need to install all those things. All the data for coastlines, river, and etc. It's all in there. Because of that last point, Basemap is very heavy to download. So if you're shipping code that needs to install Basemap to create a map, it's the better option. It's more than 100 megabytes. The shipped code also can make it inconsistent with other libraries. So, for example, if you have GUs 3.4 and that is bundled with GUs 3.3, you have some headaches because of that. And one that really bothers me, the first two don't really bother me, but it's the outdated political data. It uses the GS, HHS data, which is terrible if you're in America. If you're outside the US, that data is total crap. Not handle the data line properly. So I'm going to show a little bit of how you use Basemap. You enter it. I'm assuming that everybody's relatively familiar with MATLAB, or Python, sorry. And then 28, the map instance. And in this case, I'm just printing all methods that Basemap has. And as you can see, you can do really every Basemap that use map object. Everything is here. It's not perfectly, but it's to navigate. So you want to plot and choose image, it's there. If you want to check for the boundary latitudes or blue marble image, everything is there into this object. Just a quick example, Basemap. I kind of like to create functions in my maps like this one. I'm going to go through all the functions I just put here so you can copy and paste later if you try. But with map, you can do very nice integrations with MATLAB. Like all the methods from MATLAB are available. Can I see my mouse pointer? Because I'm trying to point things here. I'm not sure if you can see that.
Hey, Filipe. Yeah. Your audio is pretty choppy, but I assume you probably don't have other options, right, for calling in. You're calling in.
Oh, I only have Skype. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's bad.
You know, it's kind of bad, but I mean, we can understand it. It's just we have to really pay a lot of attention to it. But I calling from internet connection in Brazil, so you can regular phone line, right? Because that would be too expensive, probably. Just keep going. I think I don't. You have an option to call through a different call in some other way.
And just try speaking extra slow.
I think if I go slow, it's better, but I really don't have any other option.
Well, that right there sounded just fine.
Try to speak slower. So, some recent things with Basemap, like a overlay with simple methods. And this right here is what people from MATLAB will probably recognize. Basemap, you need to use the map projection, the mapping object, to convert from to the longitude to the projection. And this is relatively annoying. New versions of Basemap have a lat long keyword argument, so you can just put latitude and longitude in there. But you need something here that this object already knows about. So is that a question?
Actually, maybe, Roland, I don't know if it would help, but maybe you could try seeing everybody, and then Filipe, you would unmute.
Say what? I'm gonna pause the recording for a moment.
Okay. So this is just one of the problems that was about with the data. The states here, they don't accept that configuration anymore. So if you're using Basemap and you're using the full data, that's what you're going to have. The other big problem is that the date line, for example, I'm using raw projection and plotting the calendar expedition tracks. It doesn't handle the date line very well. You just put a straight line across the date line. So based on all the shortcomings of Basemap, some other people start the Cartopy project. I could define the Cartopy project with one word is basically this: fix all the bugs in Basemap. But it's more than that. It's more object-oriented, so we need to do that question that I was talking about when we paused. It has a tighter integration with Mplleaflet. It's not really a Mplleaflet toolkit, which is a dead concept. It's a projection that you put on a Mplleaflet axis. And it's the first library to solve the dateline problem. And more important of all, at least for me, with a bad internet connection, it doesn't download anything. It's a very light download. It only downloads data when you request for the area that you request. The cons is because it doesn't ship with all the projections that the Basemap has, but that has been proven lately, and not all the functionality exists. Some functionalities, like for example, checking if a point is land or in the ocean, is implemented yet, and you could do that on your own with your own code. So some basics, like Cartopy. Cartopy works like that. You call in Mplleaflet axis. That now it's like you have a Mplleaflet axis with extra methods. It's just putting the methods there. Here got the full Mplleaflet axis just to show what's new, what is added beyond Mplleaflet. So features, geometry, raster images, WMS service, WTS, clients, and everything. It's much simpler than Basemap in a way that's just a few methods. It's not all the methods that you saw on the previous slide. It's all integrated directly into the Mplleaflet axis. You don't need an extra object. So functions get a little bit cleaner. You declare the projection, instant Mplleaflet figure with that projection, and then you keep in this, I'm adding land, I'm adding coastline, and I'm adding an underlying image. And none of this data existed in my computer before. Only when I call it, everything is downloaded and plotted. Pretty sure shipping some code that needs to create maps on the fly, and it needs to be lightweight. It's important. You see those two states that I mentioned. You actually up-to-date data. Of course, I could download the shape file and use that in Basemap. far more convenient in Cartopy because it's a built-in method. It fixes a problem. If you read a map from Basemap, this line here was a straight line over here. Thanks to Cartopy knowing about the date line, it actually does the right thing. It goes all the way around, like it's behind the figure. There are some extra features that in Basemap they do exist, but not that easy to access, to plot WTMS, shapefiles, and etc. Is an example. Just in thread URL, the WMS response and create map. Check if you should recognize this as a coast model. I'm not so sure if other people there recognize that. And it's so simple in Cartopy. That was a little bit harder map, but possible to do. You can shape files and shape show some very fancy maps. And it's straight from the gallery. I have shape file for the states and a shape and a track for Katrina. And then I use shape here to show all the states that Katrina voted, and all the states are within, I believe, 2 miles, I don't know, 20 miles range from the track. You can do pretty cool things with shape files in Cartopy, and very easy to do also. By the way, I'm not talking about the code per se. It's all in there so people can copy and paste later, and feel free to email me later. I'm going to try to show all the models that I have here, but I can come back or answer your questions anytime. So both Map and Cartopy are very good for 2D figures. If you create illustrations for posters, papers, and etc. But now everybody wants some interactive maps, something that you put them online, put on a web page. The first choice, and it's definitely the easiest one to use, is Mplleaflet. And the name says it's a conversion of a matplot figure to flat map. The converts very limited leaflet functionality, and there are some awkward hacks to make things work. I'm going to pause here just to explain what's leaflet, because maybe that's standard for some people, but it's not for everybody. Leaflet is probably the most used web plotting library. It's a Java library. I believe Rich is very familiar with TerraJS. TerraJS uses leaflet underneath. Mapbox was based on leaflet. Really, every map that we see at some point has a connection or has leaflet underneath.
Filipe, I think did you say Java? It's JavaScript, right?
It's JavaScript, yes. Sorry.
Okay.
So how easy it is? You just import it, and this one here, standard Matplotlib figure. So if you know Matplotlib, you know that. You call Mplleaflet display, and voila, you have leaflet map. So very simple, very appealing in that sense. The problem is you cannot put a pop-up here. I cannot change this layout. For example, it's very high. It's so short, and the width of the frame. I cannot use plugins or anything, but it goes to plot some dots or lines, or in this case even vectors. You can just use your knowledge of Matplotlib and do it.
Ask a quick question.
Sure.
On the previous slide, the tiles, thunder, forest, landscape. I have some choice from a long list of possible choices.
Yeah, any tile leaflet can render. Even in the case of Mplleaflet, you cannot render tiles that are not in the list. But the next software I'm going to show, you can use any tile, even those that are not listed. But you can use Mplleaflet tiles from to see the list. And you can add your own later. I mean, the guy that maintains Mplleaflet is very friendly, and he's always willing to take new tiles as a contribution. PRs with new tiles.
Okay.
So then it's Folium. Folium is a little more complex than MPL leaflets, but it's virtually all the leaflet functionality in it. You can plot pins, you can plot markers, different markers. You can put your custom tiles in there if the tiles are not on the list. The core, of course, a higher complexity when you're creating simple maps. So if you're creating simple maps, no for Folium. If you're creating maps that demand a little bit extra, Folium is probably your best friend. It's to use, you import it, you state it with a center and a zoom, that's it. You have a map. If you want a raw map, you want to plot something on the map. In this case, I'm going to plot the same WSM layer that we use with Cartopy for. One of the in Folium that Cartopy does have, you can use all WMS options to create a map. So even using a custom color bar, that's the color bar, you have a fully indexed map showing WMS layer before things that we don't have in MPL leaflets, like the full, I could put a plugin here to find lines and find dots or any other thing that exists. I will have a more complex way to show that. In this example, I'm at several points, and I filter those points based on some pre-processing data. The pre-processing, basically, I'm going to state hydroelectric power plants from the thermoelectric power plants, and I'm going to cluster all the points. Because of them all together, it's going to be just a of points. So this is filtering. I'm creating an iframe, and I'm plotting the pop-up as a fancy HTML table. Same thermoelectric, this is the map. So again, I can use my control here to filter out what I don't want to see. I have clusters, the points. Zooming one point, I have a fancy HTML pop-up. This is the power of Folium that doesn't give you all aggregation of things. This pop-up could actually be a matplotlib figure, could be another homepage, anything that you can represent as a web page, you could pair. Either map, Cartopy actually did that, maps on top of maps. I will put them all day because that's my pet project right now, but instead I'm just going to put a few links here from some other functionalities, and if I have time later at the end, I can probably come back and talk about those. But they're only showing different plugins or different underlying base maps. This one is a really nice one with a lot of things, graphs, vector figures, USGS. It probably makes all the functionality into one map. The last one on my list is actually a request Felipe asked me to put in here. It's okay. Bulk we thought as MPL leaflet plus Folium plus much more. It's a nice library. It's brand new, even though it's been a while but I would say it's brand new because they keep changing everything in it. If you learn Bokeh, the previous version, you have to relearn it for the new version. That's a comment, it's not a pro, but that's a point that you get when you're an early adopter of a new technology. It's very complex for simple graphs, but it might be easier in the future. They're actually trying to make it easier. I put only one example of Bokeh map. You see, there are way more imports than Folium and MPL to leaflets. At the time that I created the slide with the version that I had, it could only do maps style plots. I just changed it. I do know that the latest version, they have virtually all the styles that we have on Folium. With Bokeh, you can create all these objects by yourself, circles, stars, or anything, but creating those objects can be a little bit annoying. Like you have to come here and instance circle instance and declare everything. I agree with the idea. I think Bokeh is user-friendly right now. We need to work out the kinks a little bit of the API. something about interactive plotting. So Mplleaflet, if you want to do very simple plots, if you want a better Python wrapper for leaflet, and both if you are, how can I say, if you're in adventure, if your courage is enough. That's what I had. I'm afraid I went too fast, because by hearing any question, I tend up to read the audience. I'm not really sure if people were listening or not. Sorry about that.
Okay. Map there. So start 6, if you want to ask Filipe a question. Okay, so maybe nobody could hear you, Filipe. No, I think they could. I have a question. Is star 6, could we actually just try doing star 6 and saying something so I know that at least it's working? Okay, thank you, Chris.
I have a question. Who is storing all this free data? I mean, OpenStreetMap is, out there, but someone is serving it.
The Basemap for the interactive maps, right?
Yeah.
Well, I noticed a bunch of examples with some really beautiful base maps, and we're wondering who's serving them, and are they going to keep doing that and stuff like that.
Well,
it seems
I
to me
really
if
hope
you
they
included
keep
these
doing.
things as keywords in the interface, it's going to be a pretty interface that's going to be around for a while. Solid website infrastructure is going to be around for a while.
They go for a while. You can see the tiles that we use. Look in the bottom. In this case, this is OpenStreetMap tile. It's over here. I can see my mouse, the mouse pointer.
We've had some issues with things, these sort of interactive layers kind of coming and going, right? As people decide, I'm not going to provide that service anymore, but other people, jump in and provide stuff. I mean, I think like Noah is actually providing one now. USGS does.
These Basemap layers, are they WMS services, or what are they? Where are they coming from, and how are they supported? And
some WMS, so WMS. The vast majority are from OpenStreetMap, so there are some from Mapbox, and you can actually add your own. I was trying to look for one particular result. Like right here, you can just come here and put your own tiles, and it will work.
So I think OpenStreetMap has their own tile service, right? I mean, or they have a standard that they invented, right? That they use and other people use, and then other people, I think Leaflet can do web tile service. It can do OpenStreetMap tiles. It can do other kinds of interactive map services, right, Filipe?
Yeah, exactly. And then on my end of Folium, I'm not really worried about the tile that you're going to use. I just want it to be flexible enough so you can put any tiles in there. For the Mplleaflet case, they actually hard-coded the tiles. I don't code any tiles. I just put in there some default ones. And most of the defaults that I use are OpenStreetMap, and they seem to be pretty stable.
someone could bring in the national map.
Yeah, you could.
Have a question for Filipe?
This is Colin. I was wondering if you have all of these examples you're showing in a accessible gallery, or even as notebooks in a Git repo, because as I've actually worked with a lot of these before, it's always so helpful to see an example of someone who's done stuff. And I've stolen from you, Filipe, and Mitch and others. But it'd be kind of nice to have just like expensive cookbook of 100 different things that you could kind of cycle through. So I was just wondering if you have anything like that.
This presentation is a notebook, and it's set to reach. We can say email around. And at the end, I have links for galleries of more articles that I did not. And this presentation is a notebook on a GitHub repo with all the data and everything you need to run, including an environment that installs all the software. Right. These two links are galleries.
Yeah, because, I mean, Filipe has done a lot of great work. I will plug again, if you use Python, the Anaconda distribution, which makes life so much easier. One of the reasons it makes your life so much easier is because Filipe and leveraging some work from Phil Elson, the British Met Office, has a automated build system where he is maintaining essentially about 200 packages. Some of these packages are difficult to build and are all on the anaconda.org/iuse channel. And, it's where so all of the environment that, like Filipe said, that can run these notebooks can really easily be installed. And so, as you can see now, he's going to his own GitHub, and all the notebooks are, well, they are on this Python mapping stack tour. Oh, you launch Binder.
If you click here, you can actually run that right now on your browser.
If you go to that URL and you click on Launch Binder, it actually launches the notebook with the proper environment on a cloud service that I think provides through some NSF grant. Is that right?
Yeah, so it's a research lab that's doing that with their own fund, and most of the funds come from NSF.
You want a really low impact way of with this stuff. You don't need to install anything. You can just go to that URL that's showing right there, click on Launch Binder, and then you can be running the notebooks that Filipe just showed. Question, Filipe.
Yeah.
I heard a web developer talking about like Leaflet 2.0 or something, or some new version of Leaflet that's here or is coming or something. And
it's coming. Everybody's afraid it's going to break a few things, but you need to get ready for that.
How is Folium going to deal with that?
Because we're not only flat development very close. We should be able to update the URL, and that's it. There's just two developers now. Actually, one developer, I'm just on the merge button, I'm just having the guy review the PRs. A very nice job of compartmentalizing everything. So I'm pretty sure if it breaks, it's going to break a few features here and there, but not everything. So it's going to be easy to fix. But we're waiting for Leaflet 2.0 to come out first to start testing. And we'll do as open source that is unfunded do. We have to put out there and wait for people to tell us that it's working.
Right. So, okay, so if you didn't catch that.
We don't have the manpower to do that ourselves.
Right. So, if you're interested, if you have the skills, I'm sure that the Folium project on which Filipe has been a core developer, essentially. Is that correct?
I was at some point, but now I finally find a guy that is way than I am with coding and stuff. So I was helping him to create the releases and fixing bugs. But it's a French guy that became the developer. I mean, in my opinion, he is. In his opinion, I am.
Okay. Well, anyway, I'm sure that if you're interested in helping to support Folium, that would be, I'm sure that they would welcome the help. Do you want to run through the, we have some time, do you want to run through that iUse notebook, unless there's other questions that you want to...
It's not a question. There was one question I was expecting about custom projections. So I have an extra slide here to go to it very quickly. If you have a project string, and those are familiar with Project 4 know what a project string is, those that aren't familiar, it's instructions to create a projection. So that Cartopy takes the project string as a Python dictionary, you can see here, and you can create a custom projection. So I had a problem. I need to plot this ice data, and it was a very obscure projection that I never used before, and so I could not handle it. So I looked at the metadata, I found the project string, I created a custom class projection for that project string. All information was in the data, metadata, and all to plot the ice cover for the North Pole. And I believe that's correct, at least based on what I'm seeing. If the lakes are in the right place, I usually like myself based on the lakes.
Yeah.
So if you ever meet a projection that it's very complex, project doesn't handle, remember that you can do your own very easily.
That's great. That's great because I know for a fact that my USGS projects have, I'm sure other projects have used custom map projections that, and we always, I think we've always been very, a lot of us at least have always used proj, and so having a way to just take our proj projection and go into Cartopy is very, it's great to know that exists.
Yeah, there are some people who recognize this line here. The person. Another question that I was expecting but it didn't happen is this. This is another, in my opinion, a nice advantage from Cartopy over Basemap or any other plotting library. If you're plotting and project from a different projection, on a Mercator projection or a Plasticaria projection, your data will be on the projection points, and it's a bit annoying. So you want to regrid. And on Cartopy, you can regrid on the fly. Just put regrid the shape, and then you have a very nice figure with all the blank projection space filled in. Of course, this is only for visualization because you're changing the data there.
Nice.
This is a feature in Cartopy that very few people know about. It's one of the features that's in there.
Oh, and by the way, Cartopy is maintained by the British Met Office. That has and actually they've got one of their developers is a core developer on Mplleaflet, so they're really. I just wanted to take that opportunity to say, the British Met Office is doing the kind of good government work that USGS would do more often.
And that's actually very nice because we realize Matplotlib is very important for Cartopy and for everything that they do. They came Met Office. One of the developers working on Matplotlib. So Richard asked me to go over the IO notebook. This notebook is a nice example of the power of Folium, in my opinion, because it is several different objects. Here I'm plotting these markers, and the pop-ups are bokeh plots. I'm using bokeh and Folium. I'm plotting lines, just a boundary. I'm plotting some information regarding the endurance array, if I'm not mistaken. This is some OOI stuff. Plotting a model contour as a GeoJSON, the pop-up the model contour just text. So as you can see, I can mix a lot of different data types, a lot of different pop types in one simple interactive map. And this is simple to create, actually. If you have JSON, if you have the figures, you just get 10 figures. Like this will be to this pop-up. This text belongs to use JSON, and that's familiar with Python, although that's very simple. Although I should not say that's simple because that usually upsets people. It's simple for those that are familiar with Python. But if you're not, it can be very complicated. Sorry. I learned from software cartoon never say it's easy or it's just or it's simple. Look for the words. Any questions on this notebook? It's possible online by node.
This notebook does. Oh, go ahead.
No, just to show the power of custom tiles, here's a Folium example where I use as the tiles. So if that ever change to leaflet 2.0, we can definitely do that. Some features will be broken, like maybe we can put a marker on there, but we can show a map. And you know, it's right with the tile service.
Yeah.
All that to do was change of the tiles. So not this URL.
That was just showing an Esri service?
Yes, that's actually something that's broken. As you can see, we can change the tile service, but the layer is not being rendered. That's the kind of problem that we were probably expecting with leaflet 2.0 comes along. So it's not working. It should be an overlay here, but it's not. Sort of a projection mismatch or change API is something that we need to figure out. And the problem with libraries is that they fail silently.
Just to make sure I understood that. So Leaflet has no problem rendering files from that Esri REST endpoint, but Folium is having an issue?
No. Leaflet probably changed the API. So Folium is outdated comparing to Leaflet. But in this case, it's not Leaflet, it's the WebGL. But that's the problem, that's a similar problem it's going to have with Leaflet 2.0. Because when we change the tiles, it should play nice with those tiles. And for example, in this case, I advertised that the WebGL precision should be 100% compatible with Leaflet, and it's not. And I found a place where it's not. It's doing WMS layers.
Okay.
Some of the features you can use plugins. This is called heat maps. It can do some very fancy complex to with Folium. It's very easy to switch from a data frame to Cartopy. But if I went too fast, it's really hard to keep the pace when you don't have feedback. And I apologize for the sound. But if anyone is interested in trying this example, feel free to contact me later, and I will send you more material or help you to run this.
Can we add Filipe to the GS Python list? Or is that for USGS folks?
I don't see a problem with that. You just let Shane know and he can add him.
Okay. That'd be
He's our
good place.
Domo. Yeah.
That place to for folks to ask instead of just a private email to Filipe. Better yet, you ask on like GIS Stack Exchange or something.
Yeah, Stack Exchange has an active group there. I saw the link.
And everybody could benefit from the discussion. Does else have questions for Filipe?
No, and I don't have a question, but I did want to just give a deep thanks. I really appreciate the work that he and your lab do.
Yeah, Filipe has been absolutely critical to the integrated ocean observing system work that we've been doing, and that is focused on using Python notebook to show how services. Actually, the IUSE notebook, if you look at that notebook in more detail later, the first part of the notebook is actually searching data using a catalog service for the web request, and finding the data endpoints for these different data sets, and then extracting data from those endpoints in the. So it really represents the kind of vision that I think we're looking for not in IUSE, but also in data.gov or in the DOI.gov or DOI.data.gov. So it's these kind of notebooks, I think, that will make that, to keep them advancing and get us to this goal where we can do a geospatial and temporal keyword search on something like data.gov and create these kind of maps like this that we discover and the endpoints that we understand how to use.
For example, go from start to finish, quick catalog to the map, and also stay in one notebook, so it should be really easy to run.
So when you get your data from services like this, there's no files to download, and this map, if you run this notebook I don't know if this is using the latest data, but if there's new data sets that it will automatically pull them in.
And this was lazy, and I used a previous run. This data right here is from the beginning of the year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Actually,
if you
December.
But data collection part of the script again, it would collect this data. Is that right?
Yes. Yes, that's right. That's correct.
Okay. There's no more questions, so maybe you could you just switch back to the presenter? Just I guess Roland has to do that.
Laptop has this high density pixel screens, and Web Access Java, it doesn't respond to that. Everything is so tiny, you can't really read or do anything.
So all I wanted to say really in wrapping up here is that just for folks that we have a TechStack working group meeting page. On that page we have links to the talks, the recordings of those talks. So for instance, last time we heard about web processing services, and before that we heard about GeoNode, and back before that there's a lot of interesting talks you could go back and review if you wanted to. This talk is going to be April 21st, and it's going to be John Johnston talking about the new geoplatform.gov, which is sort of, there's a lot of things there that we could utilize in kind of books like one that Filipe just showed. So, I guess with that, to just thank Filipe once more for presenting today. That was really cool, and of course, being able to do this stuff yourself is really the best part. And
thanks for inviting me. Sorry for the audio.
Okay. And thanks also to Roland Vijay for setting recording after I spilled a cup of water onto my government computer and now it won't turn on. So we'll see you hopefully in a